Some plants have defenses that make it obvious you should avoid handling them, but others are less upfront. In Michigan, the most common of these is poison ivy.
And one of the things that you'll typically notice is between the two lateral leaflets of poison ivy, you'll notice a reddish coloration. And this is very typical of poison ivy. Although I do point out the edges here that we call the leaf margins, they can be lobed, they can be entirely smooth, or they can be toothed. And probably the most notable feature for people that get scared of other lookalikes of herbaceous species that might appear as trifoliates is this what we call alternate leaf attachment. So you can see where the petiole down here is attaching, and where this petiole is down here. These are not attached at the same site, and they're not, so we call that alternate leaf attachment, and that's very, very typical what we do expect here. You'll also notice this is one of the growth habits of poison ivy, which is woody, the shrubby form, and the other very commonly seen form of this is the woody vine form.
Handling poison ivy will result in itchy, uncomfortable rashes for most people, but some are lucky and not affected by the allergic reaction. Stinging and wood nettles also commonly sneak into Michigan gardens and parks.
But not all nettles will sting you. There's two common kinds that you'll see that will sting you. One is the wood nettle and one is stinging nettle. And with the wood nettle, which will sting you, which is right in front of us, when you get up close, you notice it has pretty distinct toothed edges here on the leaf margin. And when you get a nice up close look, you will see pretty notable, what we call, again, needles, if you will. Each one of these is like a hypodermic syringe that essentially is loaded with, it's a one-celled extension here that shoves its way into your skin, and it's loaded with things like formic acid and histamine and acetylcholine and leukotriene, which causes a painful reaction, a little bit of swelling and redness. Some people have a slight delayed reaction and don't notice it right away until it's a little late, and then they have to back out of it, which is why you'll see that I'm a big proponent of hiking in pants that are going to prevent me from getting stung. I could tromp through that if I'd like to and not get hurt, but my advice is, try to respect the vegetation and the wildlife and to stay in the middle of the trail, and I would never get stung by this plant. But you can notice it does have those very prominent, what I'll call stingers, located all along the plant, along the main stem as well as the petioles, and even with stinging nettle, it's on the leaves as well. So that's what can be so painful.
The best thing to do at first, if you're exposed to any of those plants at home, is to wash your skin with some water and soap. And with poison ivy, you want to wash your clothes and make sure you get under your fingernails because the oil can be like on the clothes and under your nails. And then cool compresses can help if you're having itching. You can try like a steroid cream, a hydrocortisone you can get from the pharmacy over the counter. Those can help too. And then with stinging nettles, it's kind of like hives that you can get, and so something like Benadryl or loratadine can help with the itching with those.
All right, what point is the point where you should definitely go seek medical attention? Like, how bad can it get before you need to see a doctor?
Well, with poison ivy, if it's just in one small area, most people will be just fine, maybe using the topical steroid or trying to keep it clean. If it's spreading or if it's in multiple areas or if it's on the face or like in the groin area, that's usually when we would say come in to see a doctor because something topical might not be enough. We can prescribe like a prednisone pill, which is a steroid, to help with the swelling and inflammation.
There's one more plant in Michigan that, while less common than poison ivy or the nettles, is worth being aware of.
Unfortunately, what happens is if the sap of this plant called cow parsnip were to get on my skin, these furocurmins, they interact or get excited, if you will, by UV light, and cause a bit of a painful blistering rash potentially. This one is kind of somewhat reminiscent, if you will, in the inflorescence here with the compound umbels, usually more than 15 rays beneath. It's somewhat reminiscent of what many people know as Queen Anne's lace.
was looking more into it, and it's a similar type of skin reaction that can happen if you're exposed to like lime juice in your skin and then exposed to the sun. And so it is a chemical reaction that is kind of activated by the UV radiation. But the interesting with that rash is it can then turn dark on your skin and last for months or even years. And so it's not very common. I haven't really seen it. I guess it can form blisters. Which for the blisters, you just want to protect them and leave that skin on there when it's healing. And just protect your skin from the sun, so hopefully to prevent the darkening that can happen.
Knowing and avoiding these plants will help keep your summer a happy one. Reporting in Grand Rapids, I'm Joshua Phillip Vissers.